Edge of a Bullet, a DIRK WARHARD novel by D.B. Steele. It was just another typical day for DIRK WARHARD. DIRK WARHARD had been undercover for 13 weeks. In that time, he hadn't showered, shaved, or eaten a single time. This was the DIRK WARHARD undercover method. The DIRK WARHARD undercover method was a living hell for the initial 4 weeks, but on week 5, without fail, his body would begin to buzz with a feverish euphoria and a rigorous alertness that gave him the edge he needed to succeed. Because of the adrenaline it produced, he also hadn't slept in a month. I'm gonna give up on the voice. His skull vibrated with a cocktail blend of indiscriminate rage and an unquenchable passion for justice. Time to get to work. DIRK WARHARD's undercover persona was that of Bobby Briggleston, billionaire playboy heir to the Briggleston family media empire. In fact, DIRK WARHARD was himself a billionaire playboy much wealthier than his undercover persona, but he'd play any role if it meant getting the job done. A wealthy local socialite was hosting a charity gala in her mansion home, which DIRK WARHARD had been instructed to infiltrate. His limousine pulled into the mansion driveway around midday. As he stepped out of the limo, the sun shone brightly into his eyes. DIRK WARHARD hated the sun more than he hated anything in the world. He had been told many times to stop looking directly into the sun, but to turn his back on an enemy was cowardice he could never forgive. Pulsing with rage from the DIRK WARHARD undercover method, DIRK WARHARD pulled a pistol from his tuxedo jacket and fired 10 rounds directly into the heart of the sun. Case closed. He holstered the pistol and stepped into the party. Shortly after entering, he was met by the host, Samantha Keelight. She was his target, a known perpetrator of underground organized crime and the person from whom he was to extract sensitive information. "Howdy," he said to her. "My name is Bobby Briggleston." But his name was not Bobby Briggleston. That was only his undercover alias. His name was DIRK WARHARD. DIRK WARHARD thought to himself, "I'm DIRK WARHARD," and then continued the conversation. "Mr. Briggleston, it is the pleasure of pleasures to finally meet you," exclaimed Samantha Keelight. "I've heard so much about you from our mutual friend." The mutual friend she spoke of was DIRK WARHARD's handler, who briefed him on every mission. DIRK WARHARD did not know this man's name, because DIRK WARHARD disliked learning names. The only name he knew for certain was DIRK WARHARD, and even that one was written on a card in his wallet for emergencies. A man in a servant's outfit approached them with a tray of shrimp cocktails. Hors d'oeuvres? The sight of food thrilled and angered DIRK WARHARD. Hunger raged in his stomach, but he couldn't risk the mission. He stepped very close to the man holding the tray and subtly pressed his pistol to the man's sternum. "You'll remove the food immediately, and you'll never show You'll remove the food immediately, and you'll never show your face in this city again." The man began trembling violently. Then nodded and turned for the exit. DIRK WARHARD fired a warning gunshot at his feet, just to scare him. A hush fell over the entire party, but DIRK WARHARD coolly holstered his pistol and said, "Saw some asbestos." The partygoers all nodded in appreciation, and a few began applauding. "Now then," declared Samantha Keelight, "may I show you around my home? A man of your distinction will surely admire my collection of art." "That's right," replied DIRK WARHARD. "I am a man." And he was. The two of them stepped into an adjacent room, which was empty but for the paintings hung on every wall. "Van Dorsens, mostly," said Samantha Keelight, "though some on the far wall are by Ferrier. Do you have a favorite artist, Mr. Briggleston?" Because there was only one name that DIRK WARHARD truly knew, he replied, "DIRK WARHARD." We're only halfway through. Several of the paintings looked to DIRK WARHARD like food. To suppress the anger it aroused in him, he tore one of the paintings clean in half. "Asbestos," he explained. "Mr. Briggleston," said Samantha Keelight, "I did not invite you here simply to admire my art collection nor to rid my home of asbestos. In fact, there's one particular piece of art I wish to show you that I think you will find very interesting." DIRK WARHARD responded well to this statement because he liked it when people gave him things that interested him. Samantha Keelight pulled a small parcel from a shelf, then turned to DIRK WARHARD, but the parcel was not a piece of art. It was a gun. She pointed the gun at him. "That's right. I know exactly who you really are, DIRK WARHARD." DIRK WARHARD quietly retrieved his wallet and checked the card inside. She was correct. "You didn't think you'd fooled me with this Bobby Briggleston nonsense, did you? I'd know your scummy face anywhere." Samantha Keelight fixed the gun on his temple. "Tell me who sent you, or the next piece to hang on my wall will be your brains." Time slowed to a crawl. Dirk WARHARD played through every possible outcome of the situation in his head, tactically assessing thousands of different strategic maneuvers. His mind raced with the efficiency of a cheetah nailed to a missile, and after a mere half-second, which to Dirk WARHARD felt like hours, the only strategy with even a glimmer of hope was clear to him. "Well," snarled Samantha Keylight, "what's it going to be? Are you going to start talking, or do I have to—" Samantha Keylight exploded. Blood and innards splattered across every inch of the room, drenching the various works of art and substantially lowering their value at auction. Dirk WARHARD wiped a finger from his eyes. Weeks ago, he had secretly planted a bomb inside Samantha Keylight, triggered by a switch inside the ring on his left hand. This was one of Dirk WARHARD's signature techniques, and it had saved him dozens of times. He stepped over to where he vaguely recalled she had been standing, then adjusted his shirt cuffs and said, "What you didn't know is, I'm actually Dirk WARHARD." He then pulled out his pistol and said it again while holding the pistol, which he decided was cooler. He repeated it while firing the gun several times, and that felt coolest of all. Dirk WARHARD still had no idea what role Samantha Keylight played in the perpetration of organized crime, but it wasn't his job to know things. The less Dirk WARHARD knew, the more quickly he completed each mission, and this one had been done in record time. He pressed a mechanical implant on his neck to inform his handler that the mission was a success. Dirk WARHARD stepped back into the party, where guests were in a panic over the sound of the explosion and gunshots. They turned and froze as he entered the room, dripping with Samantha Keylight. Dirk WARHARD strode confidently toward the nearest servant holding a tray, grabbed a shrimp cocktail, and stuffed it into his mouth with a beastly vigor. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Oh my god, it's Dirk WARHARD!" Dirk WARHARD attempted to yell, "What you didn't know is, I'm actually Dirk WARHARD!" but his mouth was too full of shrimp, so instead he just fired his gun into the air several times. The partygoers began cheering and making out with each other. Then the president emerged from the crowd. "Dirk WARHARD," said the president, "you've saved us once again. I award you $10,000 cash." The crowd cheered again, and Dirk WARHARD still couldn't speak, so he kept firing his gun. One of his bullets accidentally hit the president, who gave the thumbs up as he bled out, grateful to have been killed by the famous Dirk WARHARD. But the president's death didn't bother Dirk WARHARD, who knew that there would always be another president, but there would never be another Dirk WARHARD. He stuffed another shrimp into his mouth, then crowd surfed his way back to the limo as he yelled his famous catchphrase, "Nobody survives Dirk WARHARD!" Justice as cold as the shrimp. It was just another typical day for Dirk WARHARD. And thus concludes Edge of a Bullet, a Dirk WARHARD novel by D.B. Steele. Wow. You want to talk about cinema in book format. Literature, you know?